This is the mystery that we've been raising on this show for days now. You remember, initially the reports were from the sheriff that Nancy was discovered missing after she failed to show up to church. Here's Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos trying to explain.
Sometime earlier that morning, they got a call from somebody at the church who said, hey, your mom's not here. The family went to the house at 11 o'clock in the morning. The family got notice from somebody at church that she was not at church.
Someone at church notified them. She was not at church. I could play you 4 more. Okay, he said it repeatedly. Well, like many of Sheriff Nanos' statements, that did not check out because she had not attended service in person in Arizona since the pandemic, as broken by the Daily Mail. And every day since the Daily Mail broke that, we at the MK Show have been asking, so how did the family know that she wasn't allegedly at church? Like, what is that report based on if she wasn't actually going to church? Then we found out that there was a live stream, but that you couldn't see if you were a congregant who was participating in it. We reported that to you. Then we found out that there was a chat along with the live stream, and we speculated here, could it possibly be that people reported in the chat that Nancy wasn't there, that this 84-year-old was joining the live stream chat? We had no idea, and no one would answer our questions. But now we know that Nancy did regularly gather with a small group of friends on Sundays to watch a live stream, not of her church in Arizona, but of her daughter Savannah's church in New York City. Fox News reporting that last night. After Nancy did not show up to watch this live stream on February 1st, last Sunday morning, a friend contacted Savannah's sister Annie, which then set off the desperate search that still has not ended. The pastor of the Guthries' New York City church spoke out today on the Today Show.
I sat down with Pastor Michael Ruzenda in the very pews she and Savannah often pray in.
This is Savannah's church, and it's also Nancy's church, right?
Yeah. Over the years, Nancy would visit, and we got a chance to meet her and know her a little bit. And then during the pandemic, we started out of necessity filming our services, our prayers, our sermons, and putting it out there into the world. And during that time, Nancy started to watch.
Okay, just a word. It's very annoying when these Johnny-come-latelys to the story bomb in, try to pass judgment on those of us who have been here reporting it from the beginning aggressively and with misinformation. And that's what leads me to Hall Monitor Brian Stelter. Hall Monitor is out there tweeting the following. Online sleuths and internet commentators have sowed confusion in recent days about how exactly Nancy Guthrie's absence was first noticed on February 1st. Here's the deal. And then he goes on to explain what went down. Okay, it's not online sleuths and internet commentators who have sowed this confusion. It came directly from the sheriff multiple times, Hall Monitor. Do your homework. Online sleuths and commentators have been trying to piece together what's real based on the sheriff's 180 reversals of his own comments if you just wait 24 hours. He is the one who said she didn't show up at church and someone at church noticed and called her family. The misinformation around this has just been pretty legion. That sheriff, she was snatched from her bed. Then he had to take that back. He's had quite a few that he's had to clarify. Nobody's perfect, but spare me the sanctimonious parachuting in with your corrective record, Hall Monitor. Okay? Do your own homework before you try to lecture those of us who have been following this in its every detail. Because actually, some of us really do care about getting the facts right. And Hall Monitor, some of us actually do have to worry about this kind of thing happening to us or our loved ones. So we're really fucking invested in making sure we get every fact correct. Unlike you, where you sit there with your tweets and think that you can weigh in and correct people like this show or Ashley Banfield or anybody else who is trying in good faith to get the facts of this case right. I've had it. We sent Phil Holloway to Houston because we wanted someone of our own. I'm sorry, to Tucson. We wanted someone of our own there to be researching the facts and making sure that we're getting things right. Phil used to be a cop. Did you know that? And now, of course, he's a lawyer, very smart lawyer, and also a host at MK True Crime. So he is neck deep in true crime cases. He understands reporting, and he's been on the opposite side as a member of law enforcement as well. And he has been on the ground reporting now for about a day there in Tucson. Phil, welcome. Thank you. Great to see you. So what are your first thoughts, having been on the ground for about 24 hours?
Look, one thing that a good lawyer will do, whether you're a prosecutor, defense attorney, if you're a criminal lawyer and you're involved in a criminal case, one thing that's important to do is to go to the scene of the crime so that you can on the ground, right? You want to see what the crime scene looks like. You want to see the terrain. You want to just visualize how things are located with respect to other things that may be of interest. In this case, the mom's house versus Annie's house. So the one thing that I first noticed when I got out there, besides the giant scrum of obviously media personnel that have every inch of this very narrow roadway just kind of jam-packed with their vehicles and their equipment, I noticed that the terrain at the house and around the house would be something that would be very difficult to conduct an investigation in. You've got, as you see there on the screen, you've got a lot of the cacti, you've got shrubs that are, 2, 3, 4 foot high, lots of things that would block the view of the house, the front door, from the roadway, and vice versa. If you have the Ring camera, it might see who's standing at the door, but it's not going to see what's out past all that shrubbery. And so I sort of took a walk around, and then I looked at the area across the street from the house, and I saw more of this, rocky desert, traditional desert type terrain. And it would be a very difficult, challenging place to do an investigation if your investigation turns on trace evidence. And now we know that some of this does turn on trace evidence. I've also talked to some locals here who parenthetically tell me, they don't have a lot of trust in the sheriff. They tell me that the morale in the department is not so great, that he has leadership problems within the department. And you start putting all this together, and it tracks with the things that you just went through with respect to the sheriff. On the way out here yesterday on the plane, I sent an email to the sheriff's office asking, hey, look, is there anybody there that would be willing to talk with me for 5 or 10 minutes? Because I was interested in maybe doing an interview and showing the cops' perspective, right? Let them tell me and tell our audience what it's like from the perspective of law enforcement working a case like this, where you're, long on basically a mystery and short on leads, and you're up all night, every night, working tirelessly trying to solve a case, right? That takes a toll on officers. It takes a toll on their families. It's just very, very grueling and hard work. So I was looking to see if I could get someone to talk about that side of things. I wasn't looking for additional, information about the case itself. And, I got a very short response back saying the sheriff is the spokesman for this investigation, and he is not granting any additional one-on-one interviews. So I guess he's just completely checked out, which makes sense. I mean, he's given some press conferences, Megyn, that quite frankly, left me scratching my head, and they released the scene way, way too early. You have these blood droplets that were in the driveway, and we had people that were able to go and access those within a day or so after this crime occurred. Mm-hmm. Lots of things about this that just leave me scratching my head.
Yeah, they compromised it now, because if and when they ever make an arrest, that person's going to say anything that is used against him from the crime scene. They're going to say it's compromised. What do you mean? They had members of the media traipsing through the front porch, the inside, the garage, the outside. How can you trust anything there? There was no chain of custody on the house or the area around it. So this will wind up being a problem for them if they ever find a perpetrator. Phil, the deadline for the ransom has passed officially. And it does not appear they paid it, according to TMZ, who has the Bitcoin address. And to me, it now seems clear from Savannah's latest message that all involved have concluded this was a hoax.
Yeah.
If she didn't think it was a hoax, she would have paid the $6 million. So is that your understanding or your impression?
Yeah, it's my impression now, and it's been my impression from the beginning. But since I've been here, it's sort of solidified that in my mind. I think that somebody was obviously trying to extort her or basically con her out of some money, right? But I don't think it's the people who took and probably killed Nancy Guthrie. And can I talk more about the blood droplets that you were just mentioning? There's video of that. We've seen it. I think Brian Enton was out there and he took some video showing those blood droplets. And I've been talking with others here on the ground and getting a better feel for what that looked like. And, in some of the video that I took that I think maybe you just showed that the house, it's like this semicircular rock driveway. And sort of in the middle between the entrances and exits on that semicircular drive, there's this lots of cacti and shrubbery and other things like I mentioned. And so what you can sort of surmise happened is that there was some struggle in that house that caused her to bleed. Now, it wasn't the kind of bleeding that you would expect if, say, you cut an artery. It was little droplets. More like, think about if you have ever had a bloody nose and you have blood that's just gravity's taking it straight down and it's, dropping droplets on the ground. Okay. So it wasn't heavy bleeding. And we also know that there's some DNA inside the house. I mean, it could be touch DNA from the cells left behind by whoever, or it could also be blood in there. It stands to reason that if you had blood droplets on the doorway or the doorstep, then you might have blood droplets just inside the door. And then those droplets come out to the top of the semicircular driveway, and then they end. And so what that suggests to me is that somebody put her in a vehicle and drove her away from there. And so if that's the case, why didn't we have the search plane up that the sheriff's office had within hours? Okay. We know the Border Patrol came in and had some dogs out there, but we don't know much about how the dogs were used and in what capacity to try to track some scent. And, the whole thing just points to a scenario where maybe it was a burglary gone bad. And this is not necessarily inconsistent with Ashley Banfield's reporting either. Something happened with somebody and it was some type of an altercation. Family members can commit burglaries too. So I'm not saying that Ashley Banfield is mistaken about any of that. It's consistent. Or it could be just a random stranger going in, but somebody went in there and it was a burglary. She was assaulted. And I think that they took her out of there so that they didn't leave her behind, because there's lots of evidence on a body, whether it's alive or breathing, that can identify the attacker. So there could be, I've seen cases where someone was shot in the head with a small caliber rifle or something, and the bullet never leaves, and it just makes very small blood droplets. Okay. And sometimes the body, I've seen one case where the head was taken to, so that the killer could, prevent law enforcement from finding that bullet and matching it back to some gun. So there's all sorts of reasons that come to my mind why a killer or an attacker would remove Nancy from that home. And none of them are good. This whole thing feels like it's turned into, I don't want to say a stale case, and hopefully with this new information this afternoon, maybe we will get some kind of breakthrough. But the general feeling around here up until that announcement that you just made about maybe a picture of a person of interest or something like that, until that, it's just the feeling here is that this is a stale case and that law enforcement is just at the end of their investigative leads right now.
I know what you mean, because stale is how it's feeling. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold, so you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.